I always thought helping your children was supposed to be rewarding, not humiliating, but maybe I should have seen it coming. Name's Susan. I'm 62 years old, retired early after 35 years as a school librarian. I've never been rich, but I managed my money smart, paid off my mortgage, saved what I could, and lived modestly. My only daughter, Olivia, was always the dreamer. Art school, travel, finding herself. I didn't mind it. She was bright, full of life, and different from me in every way. Maybe that's why I loved her so fiercely, and when she married Nate, a smooth-talking guy with big, startup energy, I wanted to believe the best. They had a baby, my sweet grandson Liam, and moved into a tiny condo with too many stairs and not enough space to SO when Olivia came to me crying about how hard things were. I listened when she said, "Mom, if we had a real house, with a yard, it would change everything." I believed her, and when she asked if I'd be willing to sell my home to help them afford a down payment, God help me, I did it. I sold the house my late husband and I bought together. The home where Olivia grew up. Where I planted the dogwood tree in the front yard after he passed it hurt. But I told myself it was temporary. I moved into the in-law unit in their new house. Just until I got on their feet. They called it the arrangement, I called it sacrificed at first. It was okay. I cooked, helped with Liam, paid for groceries. I gave them space and never asked for a thing in return, but over time, the warmth faded. I noticed little things, Olivia getting short with me, Nate making snide comments about privacy. Liam was the only one who still looked at me like I mattered, and then came the talk. "You've been here almost a year, Mom," Olivia said one morning, her tone clipped. I blinked. Yes, and? Well, it's time to discuss boundaries. Me and Nate need our own space. You mean, you want me to leave? Not right away, she said. But soon. Like, by the end of the month. I stared at her. Olivia. I sold my house for you. I didn't force you to. Those 5 words hit me like a slap. I walked back to my tiny room. Sat on the edge of the bed. And I realized, I wasn't family here. I was an inconvenience, but I wasn't done yet. They thought I had nowhere to go. They thought I was naive. They were wrong. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in that little in-law unit I had paid for with the blood and bones of my past. Wondering how the daughter I loved more than my own breath could look me in the eye and say, "You have until the end of the month." Like I was a tenant. No. Worse, like a burden, and it wasn't just Olivia anymore. Nate had this way of making me feel invisible. Like when I'd walk into the kitchen and he'd suddenly remember of a phone call he had to take. Or when I'd wash the dishes and he'd say, "You don't have to act like a maid, Susan." Always with that little laugh. Like a joke that wasn't funny at first, I told myself it was just stress. Maybe they were tired. Maybe I was reading too much into it, but I wasn't. One morning, I overheard them whispering in the hallway, "Olivia, she's not going to leave. Unless we push her. Nate, I told you this would happen. She's guilt-tripping us. We need the space. Just stand firm." Guilt-tripping. You know what it's like to hear your own child accuse you of manipulation. Because you exist in the same house as them, I stayed in my little room the rest of that day. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I started to plan. I made a list, where to go. What I still had. What they didn't know, they assumed I gave them everything, but I hadn't. I sold my house, yes. But I'd kept a quiet savings account in a credit union out of town. Something I set up years ago when my husband died. I never told anyone about it. The old school, I know, but sometimes old school is survival, and as much as it hurt, I started to study my daughter. Really study her. The way she flinched when bills came in. The way she scrolled Zillow like it was therapy. The way she whispered with Nate in the garage about flipping and cash flow. Turns out, they weren't as secure as they looked. That they'd stretched themselves thin. Too thin. I started to see cracks. Nate yelling at a contractor over the phone. Olivia stressed out about preschool tuition. One night, I heard her crying behind the bathroom door. Part of me wanted to help. Part of me still loved her, but a bigger part whispered, "No more." That weekend, I took Liam to the park. Just the two of us. We sat on a bench by the swings. He looked up at me and said, "Mommy says you're moving." I smiled, gentle. "Yep. That's what she wants." "Why?" "Good question, kid, you ever play tag?" I asked. "And someone tags you and says, you're it, but you don't want to play anymore?" He nodded. "Yeah, I hide when I don't want to play." I leaned in. "Well, sometimes grown-ups try to make you play their game. Even when it's not fair." He thought about it. Then said, "Can you hide too?" I chuckled. "Maybe. But I've got a better idea." By the next week, I was already talking to a friend from church who'd recently turned her farmhouse into a short-term rental. It wasn't much, but it was safe, clean, and had doors that locked from the inside, which suddenly felt very important. I didn't tell Olivia. Instead, I started moving small things into my car. Books. Photos. My husband's watch. Things that meant something. I kept it quiet. Then came the night they sat me down again. This time, Nate was officially there. As "Susan," he said, "all business, we've found a place for you. It's a senior apartment complex a few miles away. We even toured it. For you." They were grinning, like they expected me to be grateful. "Oh," I said, blinking. "That was very thoughtful of you." They looked relieved. I smiled. I didn't tell them I already had my own place lined up. I didn't tell them I'd already changed the beneficiary on the life insurance, or that my will had been updated, or that the deed to their house, which was still partially in my name, was now flagged with legal restrictions, because I knew something they didn't. They needed me more than I needed them. A few nights later, I left. I waited until they were asleep, took one last look around, kissed Liam's doorframe, and drove off. No note. No tears, just silence, and one hell of a plan. You'd be surprised how quiet life can be when no one's yelling at you with a smile. The farmhouse I moved into wasn't fancy. Just 2 bedrooms, some creaky wood floors, and a wraparound porch that caught the morning sun. But it was mine. It was peace, and for the first few days, I did nothing. No texts. No calls. No social media. I became a ghost, not to the world. Just to them. It took less than a week before Olivia started calling. Then texting. Then leaving voicemails. "Mom? Where are you? Are you okay? Nate says you're being childish. Why are you ignoring me?" Funny how silence can scream louder than a fight. I listened to each message once. Never replied. Then I called Michelle, my lawyer. Yep. I had a lawyer now, because even though I moved out quietly, I wasn't done with them. Not even close. You see, what Olivia and Nate didn't know was that I never fully signed over the house deed. I'd sold my house to help them, yes. But we agreed I'd be co-owner of the new one. For legal protection, Olivia had said she assumed I'd never do anything with that power, but assumptions are dangerous. I gave Michelle everything: bank receipts, text logs, dates of conversations. She said, "Susan, you have more leverage than you think." Music to my ears. We started proceedings to officially remove my name from the house, but only after placing a protective lien on the property. Which meant, if they tried to sell it or refinance it without my signature, they'd hit a legal wall. And the best part, that house they loved so much? I helped fund 70% of the down payment, which meant I had a claim. While Michelle handled the paperwork, I focused on rebuilding. I got a part-time job at the local library, felt like slipping back into my old skin. The people there smiled at me. Treated me like a person. Not like a ghost in the corner of someone else's life. Every now and then, I'd get updates from mutuals. "Olivia's been asking about you. Nate's been real edgy at the gym. Liam's been quieter at daycare." That last one hurt. I missed him, but I also knew going back wasn't the answer. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Then, something interesting happened. Michelle forwarded me an email. It was from Olivia, sent to the title company. "Can we remove my mother's name from the property? She no longer lives here and isn't contributing." Contributing. Wow. Michelle replied, very officially, "Due to the equity percentage provided by Ms. Monroe and her documented partial ownership, all title modifications must go through formal court proceedings. Please refer to attached lien." Boom. That Was when the real silence began. Olivia stopped calling, but Nate, he started. One voicemail, then another. Look, Susan. We just need you to sign a few forms. No big deal. This is creating a lot of problems for us. You're punishing your own daughter. Think about Liam. Oh, I was thinking about Liam, that sweet boy who used to sit in my lap while I read him Where the Wild Things Are. Who brought me dandelions like they were gold. Who asked why I had to leave. He didn't deserve any of this, but I couldn't protect him from them, so I protected myself. One day, I got a knock at the farmhouse. It was Jenny, Olivia's childhood best friend. She looked uncomfortable, holding a reusable grocery bag and a six-pack of sparkling water. Can we talk? She asked. I let her in. We sat at the kitchen table. She looked around like she expected I'd be living in squalor. Olivia's struggling, she said carefully. Oh? She thought you'd come back. Or give her the house, or... I don't know. She's not handling things well. I took a sip of tea. She kicked me out. Jenny. Jenny nodded. I know. Then she paused. She regrets it. But she also doesn't know how to fix it. Maybe. She doesn't get to fix it, I said, surprising even myself. Maybe this is the part where she learns not everything gets a do-over. Jenny nodded slowly. Fair. She left not long after, and I realized, people were starting to see not just the story Olivia told, but the truth. One more thing, before I left the house, I installed a nanny cam in my old room. Not because I wanted to spy, but because I didn't trust Nate, and guess what I saw when I checked it? Him in my room. Going through my things. Looking angry. Talking on the phone and saying things like, she's gonna pay for this. I sent the footage to Michelle, and just like that, the real leverage began. There's something powerful about being underestimated. All my life, I played by the rules. I paid my bills, respected my neighbors, raised my child with love and books and honesty. I thought that would be enough, but sometimes, the people you love the most are the ones who think you'll never fight back. I had no interest in drama. No intention to burn their house down, figuratively or otherwise. But I was done playing nice, and it was time they felt it. After we caught Nate snooping through my things on camera, Michelle and I got strategic. The footage was enough to prove intent to intimidate, and we made sure that was known. We sent a formal warning through legal channels. Any further harassment would trigger a restraining order. The silence after that, glorious, but things weren't quiet on their end. Word got around our small town about how I'd sold my home to help Olivia. How I was pushed out like a stray cat once they got what they wanted. How Nate tried to snoop through my private things. How I walked away without saying a word, only to block their every move from behind the scenes, their golden image. Shattered. Parents at Liam's preschool started asking questions. Nate's angel investor buddies started pulling back. And the sweet couple from church that had been helping them renovate the kitchen? Gone. It turns out people still care about decency, especially when the victim isn't screaming, just smiling and shutting doors. 3 weeks later, I got a knock at my farmhouse door. It was Olivia. She looked nothing like the daughter I remembered. Pale, tired, and nervously clutching a manila envelope. Hi, she said softly. Hi, I replied, flat. Can I talk to you? I stepped aside. She sat down at the same kitchen table where Jenny once sat. Her hands shook slightly as she opened the envelope. Inside, a handwritten letter. I didn't know how to say this, she said. So I wrote it. I didn't touch the letter. I'm not proud of how I treated you. I was stressed, scared, trying to hold everything together. And when you left, it hit me. You really were the only adult in the house. I raised an eyebrow. And Nate? Her jaw tensed. We're separating. Of course they were. She pushed the envelope toward me. I know I have no right to ask for anything. But I'd like to fix what I can. I signed my portion of the deed over to you. I blinked. She looked down. It's not an apology. It's just acknowledgement. I didn't say anything for a long time, then I nodded. Thank you for bringing this, I said, placing the envelope on the counter. You can go now. That night, I sat on the porch with a blanket and some sweet tea, the stars were out, the crickets were loud, and for the first time in a long, long time, my soul was quiet. I wasn't just free from them. I was free of them. They thought they were playing chess, but I was playing the long game, and in the end, I kept my dignity. They lost their masks, and the house, well, it's back on the market now. Turns out, I've got a little adventure in mind, maybe the coast or maybe somewhere with grandkids who actually appreciate story time. Either way, I'm not afraid of starting over anymore, because I didn't just survive betrayal, though I outgrew it.